Ladies and gentlemen, one of the reasons that we own each console that we own is there are certain games that are only exclusive to that console. So you might own a Switch, you can play Mario, you might own an Xbox, you can play Halo, you might own a PlayStation, so you can play like God of War or something. But what happens when those lines start becoming blurred and those games start going to each console? Is there a reason to own all consoles at that point? Well, recently, Xbox has been coming out saying they want to get Game Pass on other consoles. But is that a good thing? We're going to go over that in this video. Let's go ahead and get right into it. So last week, the CFO of Xbox, Tim Stewart, said he wants to get Game Pass on the Switch and on PlayStation. And then Phil Spencer came out and said, no, we don't have any plans of doing that, which I don't believe that. But does this actually make sense? Well, we're going to break all that down in this video. Before we get started, make sure you hit a like and subscribe. And let's get right into it. Phil Spencer, there are no plans to bring Xbox Game Pass to Nintendo platforms. Did you hear me chuckle just now? I don't believe that, but let's continue. Earlier this week, Xbox CFO Tim Stewart claimed there was a mission to bring Game Pass to every screen. Now, during an interview with Windows Central, Microsoft Gaming CEO Phil Spencer has provided an update, mentioning how there are actually no plans to bring Game Pass to PlayStation or Nintendo. And here's what he had to say. We have no plans to bring Game Pass to PlayStation or Nintendo. It's not in our plans. But buying Nintendo is in your plans, but bringing Game Pass to the Switch isn't? Right. I'll buy that for now. Although it seems Game Pass won't become an Xbox competitor platforms, Phil and the team at Xbox will be thinking of Nintendo and PlayStation users as part of the Xbox community from here on out. Following the acquisition of Activision Blizzard, Xbox most recently offered a 10-year Call of Duty to multiple parties, including Nintendo. So anyway, the reason why I'm making this video. When I heard that Microsoft once tried to purchase Nintendo, or they wanted to purchase Nintendo, I felt like offensive a little bit, like I wanted to protect Nintendo and their IPs. What they've created, it's just so special and magical to me. But then I looked at the other side of the coin of the people who only own maybe a computer and they want to play Switch games and they have no way to do that. And I felt kind of bad, but at the same time, I kind of didn't care. I just thought it's a bad idea, right? So then the conversation came up about putting Game Pass on the Switch. And I'm like, well, I mean, we would get more games on the Switch. Maybe play like Gears of War or something, like how would this work? What games would be on there that already aren't on the Switch? And then I was like, well, if I'm okay with that, why was I not okay with Xbox buying Nintendo? You know what I mean? It was like almost me being a hypocrite and realizing it. But I just think from a business perspective and from a cultural perspective and from a history perspective and 1,000 other lists perspectives that, yeah, Xbox owning Nintendo is just a horrible freaking idea. But then it got me thinking even more. Let's say, theoretically, that Game Pass came to the Switch and Game Pass came to the PlayStation. Well, then what's the point of having an Xbox, right? There'd be no point. You would already have a way to play these games. What's the point of having a PlayStation or a Switch? You know what I mean? Like, maybe there's a couple IPs that you like from each platform, but there's like 2 games I like on PlayStation. 3 games, maybe, There's only a few series I actually like on PlayStation, like Uncharted, God of War, maybe Ghost of Tsushima, but other than that, there's no point for me to own that console. And then there's no point for me to own an Xbox. So I would have my Switch, then I would have Game Pass, then it just eliminates the other consoles, and then vice versa for other people. Maybe people only like a game or 2 on the Switch, or they don't really care, so they have their PlayStation, then Game Pass came to the PlayStation, there's no reason for them to own an Xbox, or for them to own a Switch. Depending on where you stand in gaming, like what your favorite first-party games are, it just immediately eliminates the reason to own those other consoles. And that's just bad for gaming. Like, when you think on it on the surface level, yeah, I just want to play Game Pass on the Switch, or yeah, I just want to play Game Pass on the PlayStation. It's not just that simple. I think it really does hurt the gaming world, I guess, all directions. Like, it really does. It's almost like a channel, like of water. You have stuff coming from Nintendo, you have stuff coming from PlayStation, you have stuff coming in from Xbox. But then you start blocking off some of those channels, and you just have a little bit trickling in, and the community as a whole is getting less. I think it's not a good idea. The crazy thing is, I have an Xbox Series S. I never play it. And every time I get Game Pass, I feel like I don't want to play anything on there. It's like the strangest freaking thing. I know I'm alone in that, but 9 times out of 10, I'll just buy the game that I want to play because I'll just play it and I'll be done. Like, I don't need to keep buying Game Pass over and over and over, and then you forget about it, and then a year's went by and you're like, damn, I spent $160 this year on Game Pass when I could have bought a $25 game. And I think live services, I know that's the future. I know gaming is going digital. I don't want that to happen. More and more you're seeing companies come out and say like, yeah, the beginning of 2024 or the beginning of this, some of these titles that you've purchased digitally, they're no longer going to be available. And it's like, well, why the hell did I buy these games digitally if I don't even own the game? So this whole conversation surrounding Game Pass going to other consoles, it has me just thinking it blurs the lines too much. I just think it's a bad idea. For something like the Steam Deck, you have like Steam on there, and then I'm not sure if you can use Game Pass on there, but I think you can. A console like that, yeah, that makes sense. Steam, as far as I know, doesn't have their own first-party games, their own IPs that they work on. Maybe they work on the back end of something, but their identity isn't in the games that are on the console. When you think of Nintendo, you think of Mario, Zelda, Pokemon. You think of Xbox, you think of Halo, Gears of War, PlayStation, God of War, and Horizon Forbidden West or whatever. Like, once you start putting all these games on other consoles, everything just starts blurring together, and then everything loses its identity. I waited a couple days to make a video about on this because when the claims came out last week, I was like, that's interesting. And then here Phil Spencer coming back and saying, no, that was never our plans. It's like, yeah, I don't buy that for a second, like at all. And I don't know why, dude. Like, I'm a fan of Xbox, don't get me wrong. I don't like Phil Spencer for some reason. Something about him is just off to me. And I know I'll probably get hate for saying that. And, I'm like a Nintendo fan, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, I'm a Nintendo fan, but I don't agree with all their practices. But there's something about Phil Spencer that is just like diabolical to me. He's like an evil villain or something. But ladies and gentlemen, what do you think about all this? Do you think it's a good idea for Game Pass to go to PlayStation and Nintendo? Or for Xbox to purchase Nintendo? Do you care? Do you not care? I would seriously love to hear your opinions on this whole topic because it's interesting, and I feel like this is the topic moving forward. Game mergers, big companies buying other games, Microsoft buying Activision. I think PlayStation bought Capcom or something, or is trying to, or I just probably made that up in my head. But it's a weird conversation moving forward. So yeah, please let me know your thoughts and opinions, and you guys know me. I'll see you soon with a new video. Peace out.